we have to remember that built into every victory are the seeds of defeat, but also built into every defeat are the seeds of victory. We have seen victory, but we cannot rest on that victory and think that it is impermeable and impervious to harm. What we know is that the attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, is an attack on democracy, it's an attack on education, it's an attack on how our economy works, because what Reverend Warnock and John Ossoff, what Senator Ossoff and Senator Warnock represent, are pathways to the American dream. They are proof points, and those proof points scare those who want this world to be more narrow and more restrictive. And so we have to recognize that our opportunity to hold to those successes requires our constant attention, our constant tending. Voting is not magic. Voting is medicine. But it also means that it's a constant engagement, that we can't have a moment of success. We have to keep working constantly at moving ourselves forward.
All right, guys. So we got to talk about the woke revolutionaries of the left who claim that all they want is equality. Boohoo, whining, crying, and raging over the fact that the federal government is actually trying to treat people equally based off race, okay, which is what this story is about, as a federal judge orders a minority business development agency to serve all business owners regardless of race. Yeah, so basically there's this case in which the Department of Commerce's minority business development agency was sued after denying white applicants service. Okay, they said, hey, well, we can't serve you because you're not a minority, you're white, right? So therefore, we're not going to help your business, which you would think, again, in a world where people say they want equality, okay, people would say that's wrong, right? We would all come together and say that is wrong, okay? The federal government should not be discriminating against people based off race, okay? Because I thought that we moved past Jim Crow and segregation. However, fast forward to 2024, the woke revolutionaries are desperate to get back to segregation and Jim Crow. And the reason why you know that is because they're upset with decisions like this. And then when you listen to their rationale about why they're upset with decisions like this, they basically tell you straight up, we want segregation, right? We want Jim Crow. We want special rights and privileges just for us, which is exactly what Judge Greg Mathis, the liberal TV judge, went on the internet to complain about after hearing about this decision from this federal judge to not allow the federal government to be racist against white business owners. Take a look.
I just heard on the radio a court ruling about minority businesses that is ridiculous. The court ruled that the Minority Business Development Agency of the federal government no longer has to just qualify minorities. They must also accept applications from whites, women, and others. So they've essentially eliminated the business development agencies that help small minority businesses around the country. And guess what? So far, the Biden administration said they're not going to appeal. They eliminate the quality educations in the inner city, putting us at a disadvantage, then don't want to give us a hand up with affirmative action, eliminated that. Now, knowing that they don't help finance black businesses around the country, now you're going to eliminate the federal program that does help with that. I mean, what's the deal here? They're taking back everything that black folks have fought for, just like they did back after slavery during the Reconstruction era. We had black banks, we had the Freedmen banks, we had black politicians, black Congress folks. Supreme Court came in, a conservative Supreme Court, and eliminated all of that. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing now.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Okay, so liberal judge Greg Mathis, who's a TV judge, by the way, and again, it just blows my mind that this guy can be a liberal, okay, considering how he sees all the nonsense from the hooligans that come in his court, right? He understands what's actually really going on and the problems that black people are facing and who's actually really at fault for it. But regardless of that, I always like Judge Joe Brown better than this guy anyways. This guy is essentially arguing that, hey, it is a bad thing that the federal government can't discriminate against whites, right? That is what he's arguing, okay? He's mad that the Minority Business Development Agency is serving all business owners regardless of race, because he believes that the federal government should be in the business of discrimination and racism, right? This is what he's saying, okay? I mean, he talked about how, oh, well, after slavery, which, by the way, after slavery, Reconstruction, we had segregation, Jim Crow. Yeah, black people had things that were specifically just for us. But that's because, again, we were living in segregation, okay? We didn't really have an option. That's what we had to do. If we wanted to have access to certain goods and services, we had to do it ourselves. And it sounds like to me, just listening to Judge Mathis talk, that's what he wants. He wants to go back to that, right? He wants to go back to a time when the white man had stuff just for him and black people had stuff just for them, right? Is that what you want, Judge Mathis? That's what it sounds like to me. Again, see, here's the problem with these individuals, right? My problem with these individuals is not that they want to be segregated. It's the fact that they only want one-way segregation, right? They want to be able to segregate away from white, okay? But they don't want whites to be able to segregate away from them, right? That is what my biggest issue is, because I guarantee if you ask this guy, hey, so do you think that it makes sense for the federal government to have white-only business development agencies where they only serve white business owners? Would you agree with that? Do you think that that would be fair? He would say no, right? There's absolutely no way he would agree with that. I know he wouldn't agree with that, okay? Just because he's liberal, he wouldn't agree with that, okay? Because liberal racism, liberal segregation, again, is one way, okay? It's simply, hey, we have the right to say, hey, we don't want to be with you, but you don't have the right to say that you don't want to be with us. If you say you don't want to be with us, you're racist. If we say we don't want to be with you, then that's just our civil rights, okay? That's what's going on here. Because none of these people would support a white business development agency that only serves white people, right? None of these people will ever support any government agency or institution that is only there to serve white people, okay? They have to be inclusive of everybody else. But when it comes to the so-called minority business development agencies, okay, or the minority federal government programs, oh, no. We get to be exclusionary of whites. We are allowed to not allow whites to be a part of it. That's just not how it goes. That's not fairness. That's not equality. That's not what any of these individuals have been claiming that they want. So without further ado, I actually want to read a little bit about the judge's rationale behind this and the background in this case, so you guys get a better understanding of what's going on here. So without further ado, let's get into it. Background. The three named plaintiffs in the case, all of whom are white men, claim they were unable to obtain assistance from the MBDA for their respective small businesses, including a sexual and lifestyle health clinic. Again, this sounds like a white liberal that owns something like that. A project management corporation and an architecture firm due to their race, aka racism, right? Discrimination. I thought these were things that we all disagree with. Apparently not. Relying on the Supreme Court's landmark decision in Students for Fair Admissions, Inc. versus President and Fellows of Harvard College, aka the case that overturned affirmative action, in which the court held that affirmative action programs based on race are unconstitutional. The plaintiffs argued that MBDA's use of a racial presumption for program participation violates the equal protection guarantees of the Fifth Amendment's due process clause. Petitioners also claim that the program was unlawful under the Administrative Procedure Act, but the district court declined to grant summary judgment on that ground. In his lengthy 93-page opinion, Judge Pittman opined that the dangers of programs operated on facially race-based presumptions. While he found that remedying past discrimination in government contracting is a compelling governmental interest, the court ultimately determined that the race-based presumption was not narrowly tailored to satisfy its remedial purpose. Instead, the ultimate design of the program punishes those business owners who are not presumptively entitled to MBDA assistance. Judge Pittman was not persuaded by the fact that business owners may still apply for a designation as socially or economically disadvantaged and found eligible to participate in MBDA Business Center programming. Instead, he found the application process only proves that those who are not on the list must overcome additional hurdles to receive business assistance from the agency, aka if you're white, right? If you're white, you got to overcome additional hurdles, right? You have to have extra roadblocks in your way in order to receive assistance, okay? AKA you're not evaluating people equally. You're not making the process the same for everybody regardless of race. Again, you're being discriminatory. You know, the thing that, again, all these people complain about so much, how there are extra roadblocks in the way of so-called people of color. Well, they want to do that to whites now, right? And they think that, okay, well, that's equality and that's fair. Despite recognizing that the agency's work may alleviate opportunity gaps faced by minority business entrepreneurs, the court concluded that two wrongs do not make a right. As such, Judge Pittman sided with the plaintiffs and found that the racial presumption failed the strict scrutiny test, the highest standard of review courts use to evaluate the constitutionality of race-based affirmative action programs, and thus MBDA's practices violate the Fifth Amendment's equal protection guarantees. In closing, Judge Pittman declared, quote, "Today, the clock runs out on MBDA's 55-year legacy of using an unconstitutional race-based presumption to determine program eligibility. Now the agency established to address challenges faced by minority-owned businesses must open its doors to business owners and entrepreneurs of all races." Yeah, exactly, right? Today, the clock runs out. It's over, right? The days of racism are over, okay? You would think that the woke revolutionaries would be rejoicing, okay? You would think they'd be celebrating and partying, but no, they're pouting, they're crying. Hey, why does the Minority Business Development Office have to serve whites? We don't like it. Why aren't we allowed to be racist? We want to be racist. I want to be a racist. Right. This is what they're saying. Right. I want segregation. I want Jim Crow. Okay. Somebody will clip that out of context, but that's what people like Judge Mathis are saying, right? That's what people like Stacey Abrams, who's an election denier, by the way. This is what she's saying when she talks about DEI being under attack, right? DEI, the attacks against DEI are a threat to democracy, aka it's a threat to her agenda, right? Her race-based agenda. Again, it's amazing. Just listen to these people talk, and they show you exactly who they are. They're not who they claim to be. These people are not fighting for equality, okay? They don't want equal rights. They want special rights over everybody else. And if you don't agree with them getting special rights, then you're the bigot. You're the one that's in the wrong, and you're the one that doesn't want equality. If you don't believe in inequality that benefits them, then you don't want equality. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.